An oft-repeated criticism in the field of international development is that there is not enough, if any, local input in strategy formation and planning for projects from developing country nationals. They do not have a seat at the table in conversations regarding which projects should be given funding, which features will be crucial for success, how such projects fit in with long-term goals, and the like. Insights into Development is authored by those living in and working with development in Kazakhstan. Their insights contribute to development efforts in this and surrounding countries. The majority of development literature that seeks to evaluate development strategies and projects is created in a space far removed from their implementation, in the congresses of donor countries and the offices of Western think tanks, by so-called experts who neither speak the language of developing countries nor live under the same conditions as those they seek to help. Evaluative feedback from those on the front lines is limited to assessing whether project objectives have been successfully realized with respect to certain favored features, for example, the number of hours participants were trained in a new methodology. The problem with excluding local development workers from discussions of strategy and planning is that work ceases to engage a country's political and socioeconomic realities. In order to move evaluation closer to the development projects, those working directly on the projects need to be involved in long-term strategies and planning, not just the superficial statistical outcomes. Insights offers an alternative evaluation to those forms typically produced in the field of development. It is not meant to be a scholarly work by so-called experts, nor create an index of successful development. Rather, Insights is a collection of essays written by those working directly on development projects in Kazakhstan. Evaluative insight comes from the author's own methods of description and assessment. Essays come from a range of development areas from HIV training to education and microfinance. Insights breaks with typical evaluations by allowing the authors to engage questions of development success on their own terms without restrictive formalities. In so doing, the result is also a discussion that is more inviting to the general public, not just the scholars and experts. Some of the topics addressed in the 2010 edition of Insights include education issues. Irina Shestepetova of Eurasia Foundation of Central Asia contends that general education in Kazakhstan includes very little in life skills training. In EFCA's project to empower young women called Education Initiative for Girls Looking to the Future with Confidence, Shestepetova is helping to train 400 high school girls in such skills as financial literacy, leadership, and career planning to supplement traditional education. Ardak Bekaturova from the EDI program, sponsored by British Council, says teachers from Kazakhstan have little access to training courses and teaching resources. Bekaturova put together a 2-week conference for English teachers to discuss their methodological problems. Teachers found their methods of assessing teachers' professional development was lacking and worked on developing a new assessment test called the TKT. Environmental and health issues. Another writer, Iris, is working to discover which areas of the country were affected by radiation and seeks to provide training and assistance to children who were victims of nuclear testing. Anara Shakupova, working with the Community Foundation of Lifelong Learning Education and funded by the Peace Corps' VAST program and Soros Foundation, says traditional methods of HIV/AIDS education are ineffective because students do not think the information they receive in such lectures is relevant to their lives. Shakupova has had the most success in moving to a peer-to-peer training method in which teenagers inform other teenagers about HIV transmission and high-risk behaviors. James Riggs, working with the Umit Nadezhda and funded by Peace Corps, says a central problem of internationally funded projects is that there is not a feedback mechanism for project beneficiaries to contribute to future project development and streamlining. Riggs helped create an occupational therapy guide for disabled persons and their caregivers in a rural setting and is trying to find ways for the caregivers and the disabled to help further develop the manual now that they have had a chance to use it. Riggs says a Creative Commons approach, similar to that found in developing open source software, rather than a business model, would allow NGOs and international funders to better use the feedback from the development projects. Microfinancing issues. microfinance organization October Entrepreneurs Support Fund was initially started by a USAID grant targeting rural farmers. The aim of the fund was to give rural farmers better access to credit and help them develop business plans to better leverage borrowed funds. Director Abdelin Musatai writes about how the development of his microfinance organization, the only one of its kind in the region, has changed the economic activities of rural farmers. Issues relating to the development of the third sector. The so-called third sector, the area of the economy that is considered neither public nor private, is typically seen as the domain of nonprofit and non-governmental organizations. But this area is being radically changed as businesses begin to strategically develop corporate social responsibility programs in Kazakhstan. Recently, international businesses have not only invested in Kazakhstan's natural resources and commercial markets, but social programs as well. Megan Red of Eurasia Foundation describes how corporate social responsibility programs are currently operating in Kazakhstan and their impact on the third sector. An author writing under a pseudonym says legislation passed by the government of Kazakhstan in 2005 has made it more difficult for non-government organizations, NGOs, to survive. The legislation poses obstacles for NGOs to receive either international or state funds. It also confounds the abilities of NGOs to register and be in good standing with government agencies. Vera Aksenova, working on her dissertation about European Union's democratization policy in Central Asia at Bremen International Graduate School of Social Sciences, discovers various misconceptions at all levels of EU's engagement in Kazakhstan development, ranging from policy and decision-making to project funding and implementation. This review of important development programs in Kazakhstan sheds light on both the challenges that exist in this Central Asian country and the challenges nonprofit and non-government organizations face in helping Kazakhstan confront those obstacles to development.